Hello, and welcome to
Huh?
this week's In Conversation. My name is Phil Jackman, and I lead on CyberNorth, Dynamo Northeast Cybersecurity Cluster. Each week, I'm talking to people in the Northeast cybersecurity industry. Today, I'm joined by Chaditsa Poulatova. So can we start a bit then? No, sorry, hello, Chaditsa, how are you?
Hi, Phil. It's Chaditsa. Every time I have to correct you.
Go on, try it again, and I'll try it once more.
It's Chaditsa.
Chaditsa, sorry about that. Okay, hello,
No, that's
Chaditsa,
fine.
how are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Okay.
Well, can you start then by telling us a bit about yourself, Chaditsa?
Well, my background is in academia, and I started as my BA in politics ages ago, last century. And when I got involved with international law. International law brought me to the subject of children in the war and conflict zones. But of course, I am a spirit that never rests. So when I came across a small article about cybersecurity, well before GDPR came into place, I was intrigued about child sex exploitation. But of course, that was something I had no idea what it is all about. So I thought, well, let's start digging. And one thing brought the next. And here I was submitting a paper for a NATO-sponsored conference in Estonia. That was accepted, Lord behold. But you know, the saying is, if you don't try, you don't get. And then I was looking at the loopholes in the cybersecurity area from the legal perspective. So nothing to do, I'm not an IT geek. Oh, I would never claim to be one. Hands up, never. And today's proved it. But so that was me getting into the field of cybersecurity. So after that, and while still in academia, I thought, well, I need to see more about what is security management and how we do it. So I did my MSc in security management by the Security Institute. And since 2016, I have been involved as an international cyber advisor for Cyber Rescue Alliance. And here's me.
Excellent. I forget how we met first, but I think you're one of the first speakers we had at Cyberfest, and the first time we were around, and you talked there about child protection. What is the link between cybersecurity and child protection?
The link is bigger than the attention it gets, and unfortunately, I have no idea why, but this is the reality. The link is deeper than most of us want to admit, because children are the first in the line, and the biggest crime in the dark web, cybercrime in the dark web, is child pornography. But of course, it's not getting, it doesn't reach the headlines, possibly some small letters or some incident where Europol has sent pictures and says, could you please identify, could you please link the place with things, but it's a very big problem.
And so is it something about the children, or is it something about the adults that are able to manipulate them? What do you think the issue is?
The issue is that the adults were not prepared for this big shift into the cyber world, which links that we as adults were not informed enough to inform our children. But at the same time, the children have a lot of peer pressure, and they are more vulnerable because they try to catch up with their friends who are, and especially now with COVID-19 and the lockdown, a lot of children spend a big chunk of time in the virtual world and meeting their friends in the virtual world instead of the real world, but without knowing, they put themselves in a lot of danger and a lot of expose themselves to things that they're not aware of. And I think big responsibility lies with us, the parents, because we think they are much more advanced with us. They know best. We should take the step back and just let them do it. But I think we should educate ourselves first and then educate our children. Even if we play the role of I do myself, I'm a dummy, could you please show me how to do that? It doesn't have to be always we know best, we are the adults. No, just take the back seat and see how the child thinks. Try to hear and listen their viewpoints, and inject the learning aspect as a parent early on. But then the responsibility lies from schools as well. So when they hand on their handset or a laptop and say, do the homework there, put your details, they should at the same time bring someone from outside and say, when you put your details, these are the threats that you face. Maybe not with the adult language, but make it more accessible to a child language and tell them, if you do that, this is going to be the outcome. If you, for example, take a picture of your fellow classmate without his or her consent, you are going to be liable. And I see that more and more happening, especially with the lockdown.
Indeed. So do you think the teachers or that profession really understand the consequences enough? Do they understand the issues about the dark web and its implications?
I'm not a teacher, so I don't know I don't know how much information they get. But as a researcher, I can tell you that there's a lot of data there. And unfortunately, as adults, a lot of us assume that, oh, I know best. I don't want to learn anything new. So I think we should skip that step and say, well, I don't really know. Let me dig more. Let me see how much more I can learn, how much more I can see. Spend time on researching, because the data is there. It's how much time we invest and how much time we want to invest. Because the biggest question is, do we want to invest the time, or do we expect someone else to come and tell us?
Yes, indeed. But if it's, sorry?
Yeah, personally, when I was trying to approach local schools and come and talk to them, very few of them said, well, we open the doors. Some of them said, and I'm DBS checked, well, no, we don't. There's nothing wrong there. We know everything. Yes, but if you come and talk to the child and say, do you know what's a footprint? Maybe you don't put digital, but if you link it to the snow and tell them, and I have done it myself, out of the 20 schools I approached locally, only one opened the door. And I think that shows how much guarded we are into letting someone else coming and talk to our children. So yeah, when I had the opportunity to go to that school and try to speak their language and say, do you know what's a footprint? Yes. So if you step on the snow, you leave the marks. The same thing happens when you enter the digital world. So when you open an account, or when your mom opens an account, or when your mom and dad let you have the handset and say, you know what, I'm busy now. This is going to be the dangers. And I found out some very disturbing things, that parents allow their children to spend up to 7 hours on an iPad. Children have visible difficulties in communicating in the real world. And the third, but I guess it's equally important as the first, that they have been approached by someone else while playing games aged 15 to 18, by someone else on the web, responded to the person, but never told to their parent. So these are three key things that I thought should have been approached, but never were approached by the school.
Yeah, I think they certainly take physical security through DBS checking, etc., and reception, etc., very seriously. But a lot more work, I think, to be done in terms of the online threat to children. So tell me a bit more. I think you're also involved with the Cybersecurity Institute, or the Security Institute, sorry, the Security Interest Group that you've got in there. Tell me a bit about that.
Yes, well, the Cyber and Convergence Special Interest Group was launched by the Security Institute for its members in gaining a better understanding of the cybersecurity ecosystem through research, development, and promotion of best practices. I know that quite often people associate the Security Institute with the physical security, and that's that's ultimately the result of how we were grown up, that if we talk about security, it's all about physical. But recent years have shown that underestimating cybersecurity is a big mistake, because cybersecurity and physical security are two sides of the same coin. So when the Security Institute launched the special interest group, and last year, if you remember, we did our Northeast first launch, 1st of July, which was hosted by Vodafone in the Northeast. The plan was to schedule more meetings and more sessions to inform the Northeast branch, which is very well skilled and very well informed in the cyber field. But as most things are very south focused and south based, I was chosen to lead the Northeast and Newcastle area. So COVID-19 and lockdown has put a bit of a stop to following up sessions, but that doesn't mean we're gonna stop it. It's just diversion and thinking how we can approach and how we can launch the upcoming sessions.
So I think there's probably some parallel between what we talked about in terms of schools and the security industry, thinking more in the physical sense rather than the online sense. How is the traction going on in the security group about our security institute in terms of cybersecurity? Are they getting it now?
Oh, the Security Institute is getting it, and that's why we launched it. The problem was that we couldn't do more sessions up in the Northeast. A lot of sessions have taken place down south with big companies taking it on board. I think the Northeast was still guarded as to letting outside companies or outside ideas or down south ideas coming and being brought to the Northeast. I think that north-south division still exists. And I'm allowed to talk about that because I'm not a Geordie. So I can say that, I'm not, putting on the fire line. So, but we're getting there. I think we should not work. And one of the ultimate goals is to work with Newcastle University as well. So okay. The Institute of Coding. So that has been in the plans, and there was a lot of background discussion with the Newcastle Institute and University and how we can, work together. And still, hopefully, after COVID-19 and lockdown, we're gonna take on board.
Okay. Well, you're certainly an honorary Geordie, so don't worry about that. And okay, so what's your own focus right now in the middle of COVID?
Well, COVID has not put anything, any of my plans on the hold. I still continue my MBA in business administration. And so I'm on my last few months of completing it. And my topic is the women in security, and especially women in leadership in cybersecurity field. So that's something that I'm researching at the moment and try to complete, because the submission deadline is end of August, September. It has been extended now. At the same time, I tried to complete my level 5 in child psychology, because I believe that psychology is something that we need to understand better for us to approach both children and adults. And it may be child psychology in level 5 in child psychology, but the terminology is the same. So I need to understand better the root of how we think and how we understand, maybe to adjust my understanding and communicating the cyber dangers to both groups.
Excellent. So you've certainly got a busy summer ahead of you. Okay, so now that lockdown seems to be relaxing a little, what are you looking forward to most of all when you're set free?
I don't think we have been really, I don't see it as we have been really imprisoned. I think we have understood, we have come to appreciate what we so far have taken for granted. And for me, this lockdown gave me the opportunity to just look inwards instead of spending too much time on, running around, chores and things like that. Just spending inwards and see how we can improve ourselves, because a lot comes from there. And getting the common sense that has been missing is not common anymore. So appreciating little things And just as I keep always saying, health is the most important thing. We try to catch up with the latest technology, we try to catch up everything, but you know, at the end of the day, as long as we're healthy, we can manage everything.
Very wise words indeed. Well, thank you very much for that, Chaditsa.
Thank
I'd
you.
also like to thank Robert, who's helped me to set these up in the background. These in conversations.
Thank you for saying.
Part, please get in touch. Thank you very much, Chaditsa.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.
See you later.